Hello all and welcome to the Business Continues virtual podcast. My name is Connor Slasberg and today we're hoping to put the doom and gloom away and focus on some of the positives within our lives and businesses. Today I am joined by John, Anne, Scott, Gary and Anja. Thank you all for joining me. Today's topic is customer retention, but before we start, it would be great to hear a little from each of you about who you are, what you do, and in an old networking cliche, let's get to know each other a bit better this week by telling us your favourite takeaway. So, Scott, did you want to start by introducing yourself, the business, and your favourite takeaway?
I certainly can. So my name's Scott Norville. I run a leasing company in Northampton that supplies vans and cars by contract hire and leasing. So we've been in the town for, well, it's our 8th year anniversary this month, which is great. But unfortunately, obviously, with what's going on at the moment, things are slightly tough. My favourite takeaway has to be Nando's.
Good choice.
I just cannot get enough of that peri-peri chicken. I love it to bits, and I miss it so much now because I can't get it. So, and that's that, really.
The worst thing with Nando's is when you've got the craving for it, it's hard to get out of your head, isn't it? And we've got no way of really pacifying that at the moment. So I'm fully on board with that one with you.
I know. The sort of main aim in life is to get a black card for Nando's. that is the main aim. Brilliant. Gary, did you want to give yourself an introduction?
Yeah, hi, Gary. I head up business development for Sproxton & Partners. We're planners, architects and construction managers in Northampton, based out of Wellingborough Park Farm. What was it was takeaway. Takeaway. Ooh. I love a Chinese. I'm really missing Chinese, actually. I think you can get the peri-peri sauce in Tesco's as a sauce and then just add it to your own chicken. It isn't a bad shout.
Same.
It's not the same. It's not the same.
Can't even make halloumi taste like it does at Nando's. That's the bit I miss the most. We'll go over to Anja. Anja's having some camera problems, but she can hear us and she's with us. So if you wanted to give a quick introduction.
Yeah, sorry about the whole camera problem. I don't know what's happening there. But yeah, so I'm Anja. I work at Northampton Saints and my job is to look after their hospitality and the player sponsorship. Obviously, no rugby at the moment. So bit of limbo at the moment, really. And my favourite takeaway would probably have to be Thai food, I think.
Good choice. We'll go over to John.
So John Newsham, I'm the MD of Donor Energy. We're a business-to-business energy consultancy firm based in Wollaston. We deal with anything energy related, from kind of new connections through to procurement. Favourite takeaway has got to be Indian for me.
Good choice. Good choice. And last but certainly not least, Anne.
Hi everybody, nice to meet you all. My name's Anne Brebner. I've got a domestic cleaning business and a commercial cleaning business, cover the whole of Northamptonshire. We're very quiet at the moment, apart from a couple of NHS premises for cleaning, keeping those guys going and doing lots more hours for them, which is really great. Favourite food? Well, I'm pretty much plant-based now, so I love Thai, but my favourite would be sagaloo from the Indian with a peshwari naan, which is probably not very vegan-y, but I don't care. So I like the plant-based because it suits me. I'm not a complete vegan, but I really enjoy vegetables, and I think the Indians and also Thai restaurants do just such amazing food. So yeah, I'd have to have a toss-up of a coin to decide which one, and I'd probably just eat everything.
Good, cracking. And I'm Connor Slasberg, so I'm a technology consultant for ACS, and my favourite takeaway, in Daventry, we have now got something called Hogs and Hops, which is like they do fresh burgers and all of this stuff, and it's absolutely amazing. So if you're over Daventry way, check that out. I fully recommend it. Thank you all for your introductions. We'll jump into our topic, which, as mentioned earlier, is customer retention today, following on from customer communication last week. As some of our customers face challenging times, now is the time for every business to demonstrate exactly why that client decided to work with them in the first place. With this in mind, we want to understand how you all approach customer retention and hear some of the positive feedback you've gained from customers in recent weeks. Obviously, appreciate it's a challenging time for that side of things, but it'd be great to hear some of the positives around how you as a business have always approached demonstrating that value and retaining customers, and how you might have had to adapt that slightly in recent weeks. Gary, did you want to kick us off on this one? How does Scroxton and Partners approach that side of things?
Yeah, so I generally head up customer acquisition, but I have spoken to the team, and obviously we keep in regular contact. Everybody heads up their own sort of projects and then deals with their clients directly. And it's about regular communication, really, talking about what can be done to move projects forward, what issues are arising, then talking to all the relevant people to try and move things in the right direction. Yes, things are slower. Sort of setting expectations as well, that not everybody's going to be able to do things as quickly as you'd like them to do, and then looking ahead and trying to plan ahead as far ahead as you possibly can, really. I think what's really good to see is we have had projects signed off this week and last week. That's not in every sector, obviously every sector is different. It's just about doing what you can to move things forward.
Within your industry, is it? It's not something I'm too familiar with, but do you see customers coming back often, or is it once they've been through that process with you, you don't tend to see them again for a while or some time?
Yeah, different types of sectors. So if you're a private client, say you want to do an extension or do a new house, it's probably something you do once in your life. Yeah. And then if we do well by you, you might refer us to a friend. So there's always that. But mainly it's more about, so if you're a developer and it's your business to go and build homes or build offices or industrial parks, then you're always looking for the next site. And that's very tricky at the moment at the early stages because of everything going on in finance and planning departments and things. But everything that is already in the that's already going, it's just about the fact that planning departments are probably going to take 2 extra months, and they're probably going to be the same. But you do everything you can because every borough treating it differently. And then on the industrial side, so we work with some good food producers. They have had to ramp up for sort of Christmas capacity in like a 3-week period. So it's from them, they've got projects and they've got facilities across the country which they have to keep continuously improve and repair and expand. Like a 3-year window, but their problem is construction sites and what's going on there and how that can be dealt with. So different, it depends on what type of client it is. Not every client is the same.
But it sounds like through that the main thing is the honesty and transparency. Whilst it's challenging and there's a lot of cogs at play with this, it's keeping your customers updated on how that looks and kind of the timescales. I suppose that's the most important thing for you at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, because they're coming to you to talk about what sort of things could hold up their projects and what you're doing to mitigate those risks. What plans you're putting in place, what policies you've got, what's plan A, what's plan B, and just constantly. I like, the word honesty is great because there's no point in hiding things because that would just kick you down the road. Yeah, and that's most of the reason why we retain clients is because of that sort of honest discussion that you have and build a relationship.
Brilliant. No, thank you. And it's you're also in an area where you look at both commercial and business, aren't you? Commercial and private. Sorry. So, how are the two different areas kind of worked for you in recent weeks, and generally, how do you approach retaining that business?
Well, generally, for our domestic clients, we serve like over 500 homes a week. The best form of communication for us is by text message, and it's really quick, and we move things really quickly in a normal day-to-day business before this all start kicking off. However, we've been updating clients with our MailChimp updates. Now, there's not much to tell them, but a lot of them are concerned about their cleaners, about us as a business. And we've had, whereas we would have a 45% open rate, it's shot up to like 95. Yeah. So we get a lot of communication. So we're using that as a business to sort of let them know what we're doing to help people. People are being really supportive. They're still paying us, which is great. And it's just been the response and the way the last few weeks have sort of opened up, and what we thought would happen is, it's been a lot more positive than we thought, and we're getting tremendous support. That's on the domestic side. The commercial side virtually came to a standstill apart from the NHS premises we clean. And with that, it's different because the emails we've got, we're generally getting out of office replies. So the people who we generally communicate with us are coming back to us days later. Yeah. So some of them have been furloughed. Obviously, they can't answer their emails. So the communication on the commercial side is more difficult. But what we have had and what we've been asked for a lot and we're getting ready for when we eventually do go back are lots of deep cleans in commercial premises. Because the clients are very worried about the staff, and hygiene is so much more important now. You know, it's been really put in the spotlight, and work staff and workplaces are demanding a higher level of hygiene. So already clients are saying, look, as soon as we're back, we want a deep clean and all day clean to get us ready for everybody coming back to work. So, you know, it's changing time. I think in this climate, you've got to diversify and look at what else you can be doing on top of what your existing services are. Because we're not going to go back to normal. Things are going to be very different. And I think it's important to plan for that.
I think it's quite interesting as well, the communication and the retention kind of go hand in hand. And one of the first things you mentioned there is having to adapt how you communicate and how you demonstrate that value. You had the text messaging that probably worked really well before. You've now had to look at other ways to talk a bit more about what you do to your customers. So that's quite interesting, I think.
I think there's more depth now as well, that, you know, that people are worried. They're worried about all sorts of different things, and it's making sure there's enough content in there to tick the boxes for every type of client. Some clients are like, oh, Anne will pay you, don't worry about it. Some clients want to know about the cleaner. So it's just making sure in the email we sent to them, the MailChimp, we put everything they needed to know. And it was a really good exercise. So the response has been phenomenal. So I'm really pleased with that. So keeping everything crossed, you know.
Brilliant. No, fantastic. And John, onto yourself, if we can. Obviously, same challenges as affects everyone. How have you found it in the energy market? What patterns have you seen? Because I know that's been quite a talking point, hasn't it, as well? With
it's been fairly challenging. You know, we've got kind of the broad spectrum of, we've had certain clients where, you know, manufacturing, things have just ramped up for them massively because, you know, they're still busy. And we've had the opposite effect with some customers in kind of hospitality and retail, where they've kind of mothballed sites. And we've kind of had to support both ends really with different services. So the clients that are mothballing, it's talking them through the process, speaking to suppliers on their behalf, and just making sure that they're, you know, not just as a business, but as human beings, as kind of, you know, secure and you know that we're here if they want to speak to us. And then the clients that are still busy is just checking in on them and making sure that there's nothing they need from us, and just being in constant contact. I think communication is one of the key words, isn't it? Really, just being there for them. You know, whether it be a phone call from a customer who's a little bit stressed or unsure what the future holds, to a couple of clients that are looking at, you know, additional resources for staff, and because they are so busy, and, you know, looking at what contacts we can give them to help out on that. So it's a challenging time for everyone, and it'll be interesting to see how long it lasts for.
I don't mean to shoot you in the foot in saying this, John, but I'm sure I read somewhere the other day, and it might have been from your friend Grant, and again, apologies, Grant, if you're listening to this and I've got it wrong. Now in the energy market is quite a good time to lock in contracts, isn't it? But equally, I suppose you've got to be careful when you're having these conversations as not to sound like you're jumping on the opportunity and still be adding that value and have a nice conversation with the customer, isn't it?
Yeah, from a personal and brand point of view, it's a conversation I've had with quite a few people about not being seen to profiteer from what's going on. But actually, the energy market is actually in a really low position for people to buy. But even, you know, the opposite of that now is the fact that people are working from home, and people are so you know, kind of looking at what's going on, is actually looking at your home energy is probably you know, just as important as looking at your business energy. You know, for businesses that have moved their operations to home, and people who have been furloughed, that, you know, maybe you know, financial pressures are going to be on them. If they can save a few £100 a year on their energy bill because they've taken the time to do a comparison, I'd highly recommend that people go and do that and just see if there's better better prices out there for them, even on the domestic side, because it's any monetary saving they can make at the minute is going to help everyone. So
I think people are going to be looking at that with a microscope after all of this, aren't they? Definitely.
Absolutely.
And so Scott, with your business, you've got quite a long sales cycle, I'd imagine, for your average customer. Once they've signed off on that car or van, it's going to be a few years till you speak to them potentially again. So how in that gap in time do you continue to keep in contact with those customers and make sure on their next lease that you're the person they come straight back to? How does customer retention work for you in that area?
Well, it's something that it's mainly processes that we've got in place, and we have done since we started. The biggest issue that we had, as I said just a minute ago, it's been 8 years we've been in business. March being our 8th year anniversary, which I keep on plugging because it's a big thing for us this month. But the biggest issue that we had is a lot of the contracts were sort of 2-year, 3-year contracts. And the market that we're in, very similar to the energy market, is saturated. You've got so many people doing what we do, working from bedrooms. Well, I think the majority of the nation's working from their bedrooms at the moment. But a lot of these brokers tend to sort of just literally come about from nothing. They may have to have contacts with dealerships or whatever, and they could do these cars or these particular deals for absolutely no money at all. So there's no sort of money in the vehicles themselves. And it was really doing it just to keep them, I suppose, just a bit of cash in their pocket. But when you've got a sort of team of, like I've got a team of 9, we need to create value, and the value has to come down from certain things that we do, certain processes that we put in place. And the biggest I suppose the biggest issue that we had at the early stages was when we leased a car. What happens in that journey of that customer? Because I know that there's a lot of, and I guarantee there'll be a lot of competitors watching this video today, this thing today, and a lot of them they treat customers as numbers. They're not bothered. They'll literally just supply a car and then move on to the next. And you can do that to a certain degree if you're doing anywhere between sort of 10, 20, 30,000 vehicles a year. But we're a small business, privately owned business, and this year we're forecast. Hopefully, touch wood, we're forecast. Last year, let's go last year units. Last year we did 500 units last year, 550. So what we do is very small compared to a lot of these nationwide businesses. But I like that because we can give that sort of added value. And so the biggest question then is, what do we do? How do we do it? How do we retain customers? Well, the main core is communication. It has to be communication. We've got a great CRM system, which, to be honest with you, if you're anything like me, you're going 1,000 miles an hour every day, and you may have supplied a car to Mr. Smith, but then 2 days later, you've actually forgot that you need to make that call to Mr. Smith because you've got other things that are going on. Yeah. So our CRM system is extremely good. And what that enables us to do then is to actually reach out to that customer. So we've got a couple of touching points with the customer. So as soon as the car is delivered, the sales team will make contact either that day or the following day, just to make sure that everything is absolutely fine. The car's the right colour. It hasn't turned up and it's pink and things like that. So it's not going against pink cars, they're all nice, but just making sure that it's the right specification and everything is absolutely spot on. Following that, there's no point speaking to the customers every single week because, for one, they get absolutely annoyed. And for two, you just want to just be there in the background. So if they have got any issues, they'll come back to us. So the next point then is a month. So it's 4 weeks after delivery. So then we touch base that month. Then after that, then it's every 3 months that we make contact. What we also do as well, so I might as well just say exactly what we do. And if my competitors want to copy, they're more than welcome. But we did this first. And I've actually got props for you, Connor. I've got props. So So the first thing is what we do is in the year, so 1 year after the customers had their car, we send them a birthday card.
Nice.
But the birthday card isn't to them, it's actually to their car. So that's what it looks like. I don't know whether you can see that.
Yeah, got that.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And then you open it up and it's like, happy birthday. Can you see that? Happy birthday from the team. So we all sign that. It's all handwritten. We all sign it. Nothing's printed apart from the card. So we send that off. But what that does then is that sort of just, that puts a smile, hopefully, on customers' faces. But that enables us then to make contact in that year and just say, oh, how's things? 9 times out of 10, they'll say, I've just seen your, thanks very much for the birthday card. Really appreciate it. At that particular point then is that we can just make sure that everything's all okay for that year, that the car's been fine. And also at that particular point, we can ask for referrals. If they know anyone that's also interested in the market to lease, because we've got a great referral scheme. I think at the moment it's £100 referral scheme, as we do vouchers, but we do things very different, various things every sort of 6 months. So after that year, we do we make contact, and then now this is the crucial point, because if it's a 2-year contract, if a customer's got a car and it expires in 2 years to 24 months, really we need to be making a good effort to get hold of that customer again in about the 18th month, because that will enable us then to either factory order a vehicle, the customer, which we have tend to find within these years, they're thinking about cars anyway. They're thinking about what their new car may be. New brands have come out, new products have come out. So that gives us a great sort of, a bit of an insight when we start to look at the other manufacturers' websites as well to see new products that we can then go to the customer and say, look, have you looked at this? Have you looked at that? But it's just keeping in contact all that time. The only issue that we've got there is that there's companies out there that give email addresses out to our competitors and renewal dates, believe it or not. And if you're not careful, these competitors will be having a bit of a go at our customers as well.
Yeah.
So it's trying to do certain things differently, but trying to keep that communication. Communication is the key, and also to follow on from this as well. We've also introduced last year, and this has gone out to all of our customers. See if you can see this here. So this is called Silverstone Driver Line, is what this is. So it's like a platinum service. I'll just drop that. So it's a platinum service. Yeah. And what this does, so all the customers get this free of charge. This is absolute free. It's cost us a bloody fortune. But what this enables the customers to do is that it's just got one number. And as you can see on the card, it's like one number does it all. I think it says one call does it all. So when the customer wants to book their car in for service, MOT, tyres, repairs, whatever it may be, they call that number. It's a free phone number. A member of the driver line team will take the call and actually book them into their local garage. So the customer doesn't have to worry about anything. And it's just a service. And I believe we're the only broker that actually does that. So it's just coming up every single year with new ideas, new ways. And that's the key for me. It's communication, coming up with new ideas, seeing what's around in the marketplace as well, what other people are doing. Because you may find that, oh, they're doing a great job with that, and I may be able to tweak it. But they're 2-year contracts. We've also got customers with 3-year and 4-year contracts. That still happens. That process still happens. And then I suppose that's the retention side. But when they come to what we highly promote as well is home collections. We deliver nationwide anyway. But we ask the customers, if they're local, to come in to see us, pick the cars up from Silverstone. And that's fantastic because the customers can come and collect the cars from us. We do flowers, chocolates, all that sort of thing, meet the team. So it's not so much as a transactional process or purchase. It's more of a, right, well, I've had my car from Silverstone, and I want to renew the car with Silverstone and just keep it going that way. And a lot of the communication we do as well is actually handwritten letters, believe it or not. So it's very old school way. We haven't got the quill out yet. We haven't done that. But it's a very old school way that we do things because, to be honest with you, Old school for me personally is the new school. As cliche as that may sound. Emails, we get millions of emails a day, but if you send a renewal letter out to a customer, and I haven't got that prop. But if you send a renewal email to a customer and it's handwritten in a gold envelope, I promise you now they'll open that envelope more than they would if it's a mail shot. The open rate on that is 100%. Rather than we use MailChimp as well. We use that heavily. But I've had to really sort of clamp down that at the moment just because of what's going on. And I don't think, as much as you see a lot of these people are shouting, oh, now's the best time to sell. To be honest, for what we do, it's probably not. And the simple reason being is that we can't deliver. Dealerships are shut, and people are just more focused on their own financial status than their new flashy car that they may be getting. So
I get that.
Yeah, so that's basically.
Sounds like there's quite the science behind kind of the minute you've sold that car, how you get it to the next point. But what I will say is that when you mentioned about pink cars, John's face turned slightly. So part of me thinks John's first car was a nice little pink KA or something. Is that correct, John?
You're not too far away. It was actually KA, to be honest.
What was it?
It was,
Good guess.
It was red, not pink. So.
Red, not sorry. Apologies. And onto Anja. So Anja, you're in an interesting position in this, because not only have you got to retain those customers that you work with regularly, and as people have mentioned, what you sell is no longer at the minute. There's no rugby games on, but what you do sell is a tool which heavily features in a lot of people's customer retention plans, that hospitality, taking customers out, that features heavily. So from both perspectives, really, retaining your own customers and pushing it out there, how your tool will help other people do that. How have you found that in the last couple of weeks and I suppose before as well?
I mean, you're right, exactly in what you say there. We kind of have that as a beneficial tool that a lot of people can utilise as their own retention method. I mean, for us, usually it would be a case of building those relationships up, and then on a match day, I can actually catch up with those people. So Connor, say you're bringing someone along, I'd make sure I come and see you, meet who you've brought along, just make sure that everything's ticking along as it should. You know, really kind of elevate that experience for that person so they have a really memorable day. Usually we'll have people bring their friends or their clients, and you know, it's important that they enjoy themselves so they come back. We can't control, obviously, as the commercial team, what happens on the pitch, but we can influence what happens off the pitch. So for us, it's about personalising things. So we've got Simon Foll, who's absolutely excellent, one of an ex-player of ours, sorry. And he will always kind of do pre-match interviews throughout our suites, and say if it's someone's birthday or it's a special like wedding celebration, he'll always give them a shout out and, you know, make sure that that person has a memorable day. We will then touch base obviously after the game and check how that day went for people. So if it was someone's birthday, we want to catch them on the Monday after the game's played on the weekend and say, look, how was it? Did you enjoy yourself? What kind of things did the people say that you were with? Because we just want to make sure everyone's happy with the experience. But when you take rugby out of the equation, as everybody's very, very understanding, it's not happening at the moment. It's quite tricky to have that face-to-face contact. Now, I really enjoy doing this side of things, Connor, like what you've brought together with everybody being on video chat. Makes a change from seeing just my family's faces, which is quite nice. But essentially, that whole face-to-face contact has gone. So I'm just checking in with people, seeing how they're getting on. There's a lot of kind of variances throughout the different businesses. Some businesses are in a really strong position, like we've kind of just chatted about now. Others kind of aren't so strong in what their position is right now. And it's just identifying that and being really sensitive to it. At the end of the day, there is going to be a time when all of this is over and we are going to be wanting to celebrate all together. And that's where we'll come into play, because those people that have really looked after you, or, you know, the people that you have really looked after, will want somewhere to go to take their guests and really enjoy themselves and just celebrate the end of what seems like a pretty long, dreary experience for everyone at the moment, really.
Yours is quite an emotive piece, though, as well, isn't it? Because, you know, there's a lot of people that love that club and it's been part of their life from being a child through to now. So I suppose you've got to also not play on that, but that's got to be a focus of how you approach this, in that Saints need the support once you come out of this, and people need to come along and make sure that the team can thrive. I suppose that plays a part in those conversations you have with customers at the moment as well?
Oh, I mean, massively. And, you know, a large percentage of our customers and client base, they are big Saints fans. And what's nice about that is they have the understanding of rugby as a whole. We essentially are a business, as everybody else is. And what we need to try and do is maintain that and ensure that when, you know, this is over, we do have a club to kind of go back to and everybody can really celebrate together. And the fans have been absolutely fantastic that I've spoken to. We've had a lot of people actually turn around and say, look, we want to play now for next season. We want to support the club however we can. And it's so lovely to speak to people who are so forthcoming and wanting to help other people's businesses out. It seems to be the general consensus that where people can help each other, they really are. And if they can't, they're just being transparent and honest about it. And that's happened across the board in loads of different businesses. I mean, I don't know what everybody else's experience is across the board with that.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree with that.
Our whole tactic with ACS, tactic, wrong word to use, our whole approach with ACS is all around that knowledge share at the minute and helping out where we can. So little plug here, we've got our webinar tomorrow, our weekly webinar. But that is a free to attend customers and non-customers event, because we need to just make sure that we're giving people tools at the minute to work as efficiently as possible where they can and be sensitive. I think Scott said it a moment ago, it's not the time for selling. I think there's very few areas where it is the time for selling. And it's something that's come up in pretty much every video chat I've done to this point, where we need to help. And I have said this in every video, but I had a conversation with someone on the very first day I was working from home, and it was the people that help us and advise us through the hard time are the people that we'll work with when this is all done. So 100% that helping hand is an attitude that's being carried a lot. And I think it's also quite noticeable when you see businesses in their online presence now that don't approach that attitude and aren't wanting to help in that manner. I think they're sticking out quite clearly. So I think everyone's certainly got to adopt that. And what I really hope is that once we snap back to normal life, that attitude doesn't disappear, that we are a bit more conscious of helping out people where we can. And it would be lovely if that continues through. I think that'd be great. One other thing, Anja, so me and Anja had a one-to-one a couple of weeks ago, and I've still not heard about it, but her family did a come dine with me, where they all took turns doing cooking for the evening. Did you win?
I sadly didn't win, no, but I did come second place, which isn't too bad. I think at the moment it's about doing things that will keep you sane, and it might seem a bit ridiculous, but we've put together plans throughout the week of things we can do in the evenings, you know, pub quiz nights, come dine with me. I think it's even in the mix to have a talent show on the weekend, which is, you know, one of those which is questionable, but you've got to make the most of it, don't you, really, and try and make it as fun as you can. It's not kind of a time that, oh, this time will pass. You've got to make the most of the time we've got now to make sure that we're not wasting that time, really.
Yeah.
Completely agree with that. Completely agree. Well, look, guys, thank you very much for giving your thoughts around customer retention. It's really interesting to see what everyone's doing before this and during, because obviously it's all had to change a little bit. As we have time, wanted to open up the table to anyone that has a question, corona or non-corona related, to the rest of the table, whether it's just for a bit of advice or anything of that nature. Has anyone got anything they wanted to throw out there? Don't all rush. Good.
Is anybody else?
How's everyone getting on, really? Oh,
sorry. I was just saying I've lost Connor on the video. I don't know if everybody else has.
You've lost me on video?
Yeah.
Most would argue that's not a bad thing, Anne.
I would like to see your face.
I've still got him.
Right,
unfortunately.
No problem.
Anja, did you jump in with a question then?
Yeah, no, I was just going to ask, how is everybody?
Good question to ask, and I think we need to ask that more often than everyone. Go on, everyone, have a shout. John, we'll start with you. How are you at the moment?
Yeah, I'm trying to remain as positive as I can, and I think whilst it's certainly been a roller coaster of emotions since it kind of all happened, doing things like this have been a massive help for me, and I've tried to kind of open myself up to one-to-ones with anyone, really, and it doesn't have to be a salesy call or anything like that, but just to get to know people, understand them and their business, and then hopefully in the future, we can then all look out for each other when things do start getting, back to some sort of normality. I think now more than ever, we need to look out for each other from a personal point of view, and make sure people don't fall through, the cracks of, going into some sort of depression, or, just struggling, because, that's the worst thing that I think will come out of this, is that people will struggle in the long term. And I think if we can be there to support them, I think it will just make us better people, business or not. So
Yeah.
I agree. And how would you respond to how are you at the moment?
Was that me, Connor? Sorry.
Yeah. How are you?
Sorry, it's a bit intermittent. Yeah, I mean, I've kept completely away from the news. My husband just gives me an update once a day to say where we are with everything, and I'm living in a bit of an unreal bubble. But that's my way of dealing with it. I'm just trying to keep really positive. But yesterday was a tough day. I was like, oh God, how long is this going to go on for? But a bit like John said, I think I sort of head up the Northampton Business Network. So for me, it's just making sure everybody's all right, and touching base with people. It's really nice to just, you guys, I haven't met you before, so apart from Confer, it's really great to sort of get to know you more. It's an opportunity for that, in terms of reaching out to people, getting new connections, and just helping wherever we can, and being supportive. And it's just I think just not what for me, certainly, it's not taking the very simple things for granted, just appreciating things and taking things a bit slower. I always like to look out for people, but there's more depth to that now because I've got the time, and I just want that to continue. So I found some things that I really liked about not being at my office and working from home. So I'm having a bit of a reset button as to what I do going forward. So it's giving me the time to think about that as well.
And I can see you've got a good gym set up behind you there, so that should be keeping you busy.
Well, if I can get my teenage boys out of it, we've got like a rota.
I would start doing weights, but I'm already really muscly, so.
You've already looking really tidy. I'm very impressed.
What was that? Sorry.
Your backdrop's looking really good.
Do you know what? The most annoying thing about all of this is I've had to be really conscious of making sure that my bachelor pad in one man on his own kitchen doesn't just have stacks of plates everywhere.
All the bottles are to one side, eh?
You want to see that side of the room? Terrible. Gary, how are you at the moment?
Adjusting to working from home. As Connor and you talked about, we're used to going out and seeing people face to face, and there's something you get from that. But used to the video calls and going back to being on the phone for that. But also, I liked what I was saying about, it doesn't mean you can play a little bit and have a conversation that's not just the sale. You can actually have how things are, and you can then have what's nice is the news is quite stark to listen to, but when you have conversation with other people in the community, it can give you quite a lot of hope about finding ways forward, which is good. This is the first sort of virtual meeting that I've been videoed, so more things like this, I guess. Try things new, try different things, isn't it? Really, because what was before isn't now. So
you've got to mix up the day where you can a bit, I think, haven't you?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay. And then, so Scott, you've been quite vocal. You've been quite vocal around on a video earlier this week that sometimes it's okay not to feel positive. Scott, are you peaking and troughing at the moment with your positivity, or how would you say you're feeling at the moment?
Well, all the better for speaking to you, Connor. All the better for speaking to you, mate.
Thank you.
But no, it's ups and downs. I think it's definitely ups and downs. I think last week was probably the worst week that I had. For me, when things happen, I don't get that instant sort of bang, it's happened. It takes a couple of days for it to sink in. And this instance, it's taken a good sort of 8 or 9 days for it to really sink in, to think, Christ, I can't. And I think this is the problem. I think this is where the anxiety comes into place, because we don't know how long this is going to last. If we knew how long it was going to last, we can then plan. How can we plan for something we don't know the end date? And I think that's where it all goes horribly wrong. And for me personally, we've got a certain, financially, we've got a certain amount of money I've set aside, and to have those and to have that sort of meeting, I suppose, where I'm looking, bear in mind it's only a meeting with myself, there's no one else, but I'm planning and I'm thinking, right, well, I've got this amount of money to last us for this amount of time. And okay, the government has come in with their offerings and everything. That's great. Furlough, all of my team now on furlough, all the accounts team, sales team, all on furlough. But that money still comes out of the business. We don't really know when we can claim that money back. So there's so many things up in the air. But to stay positive, I suppose that you just have to think, well, there's worse things going on. You look at the health of Boris, for example, like him or hate him, he's going through an awful situation. He's got a new family and everything else. It's just shocking. And it just shows that, what's going on around us. It doesn't matter if you're, it doesn't matter who you are. Everyone is affected by it. Yeah. So, and I think you have to take the positives out of the worst things. And the positives for me is, okay, well, I'm spending more time with my family, which is fantastic. My son is 15 months old, so I'm spending more time with him, seeing him grow in this small amount of time that I've been with him over the past 2 or 3 weeks. And that's lovely. And you need to take positives. And I suppose the biggest positive is this is not going to last forever. This is not going to last forever. This is a blip. And yes, I did have a bit of a rant on LinkedIn. And all that is, it's just because I was sick to death of people posting things on there. It's very similar to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, not so much Twitter, but Instagram and Facebook, where you only see the good things. Yeah. You only see the party times. You only see, oh, look at me, look at this. Unfortunately, when all that comes away, a lot of these people are upset and they're thinking, I've built a business like I have. It's taken 8 years to build it and I don't want to lose it. And I'm petrified of losing it. And I think that's where I come out and said, look, it's good enough. It's good to feel the way I'm feeling. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say, oh, this is fantastic and do this, do that. I haven't got the answers. Yeah. No one's got the answers. So you just have to take the positives. So my positives are more time with the family, which for me personally is lovely. My wife doesn't particularly appreciate it. And also the other positives are it's not going to last a lifetime. So I think everyone saw the Queen's speech when she addressed the nation on Sunday. It's exactly the same. What she said there is absolutely bang on. Yeah. We just have to literally just grit our teeth and plough through it.
I completely agree.
It's as simple as that, isn't it? If you look at in the war, when we went to war, and I'll stop it after this, we had to go out and fight. Yeah. Like we had to go out and fight. Well, all we have to do now is just stay at home. Yeah. So do you know what I mean? So it's not that bad. Even though businesses are crumbling around us, we just have to just hold on. But as John said, I think another positive is I'm speaking to more people now locally than I ever have done. And that to me means so much and I won't forget that either. So when we do get back to the 9 to 5 and we're absolutely flat out and we're really busy, then, that I won't forget that because all of a sudden then I will go to that working group. I will make time to do this. I will make time to do that meeting. So there's so many positives, and I think we just need to focus on the positives rather than the negatives of what's going on.
No, I completely agree. I think, and from my perspective, to answer your question, Anja, Scott's touched on it there, as have others. There are a lot of people that are worse off out there, and I think it's important to remember that when you start to feel low. But I think it might have been Ben Thomas. I had a chat with him about this. Sometimes it is okay to not wallow in self-pity, but feel a bit crap about where you are, because everybody, like Scott said, has been affected by this. The bit I've struggled with is I'm I've met all of you all, and you all know I'm quite a chatty person that likes socialising, and I live alone, and it's tough. It's not easy. The analogy that I came up with, and this could be a really stupid analogy, but let's relate it to rugby. It's like a rugby player being injured for 3 months. And then they tell him to go and play a rugby game on his Xbox, and then question why at the end of those 3 months he still isn't as fit as he was when he was training every day. It's replacing the real for the virtual. It goes to an extent, and it does stimulate that need for communication and whatnot. But I miss seeing people face to face. That's the honest factor of it. I miss having my friends around on a Sunday evening and getting a takeaway and watching crap telly. It's I miss seeing my little sister and my mum. It's all tough, and everyone's having their own differences. I can't remember who I was talking to about it, but there was someone I was speaking to who's at home with their kids and wife, and they said, "Oh, it's a stress not being able to escape it and not get your own space." And they were envious of me being on my own, and I'm envious of them. Everybody's got their own stuff going on with this. There are high days and there are low days. And a good bit of advice I got from a colleague yesterday was, I think when you do experience your low days, you've just got to find whether it's a new hobby, a new skill, something to invest yourself in, something that just levels you out and resets you. I'm thinking of trying meditation, but we'll see how I get on with that. But yeah, it's a good time. Great time to learn a new skill. Great time to find a new hobby. Great time to find something that stimulates you. So yeah, I'm good, but it's up and down days. And I think anyone that says that they're absolutely thriving in this environment, like Scott said, you've got to question whether that's genuinely the case. And we've all got to be there for each other with it. And how are you, Anja? How are you finding it?
Absolutely thriving, Connor. Yeah, no, I'm good. Same as you, really. I'm a very sociable person, so to not be in an office and to not have the events of the rugby right now, I'm kind of itching to get back to it. And I am just genuinely really looking forward to the day that I can ring everybody and say, it's confirmed, we're back at the Gardens on this date. So looking forward to how good that is going to feel to make those phone calls, and just looking forward to seeing everyone again, really. Same as what you've all said just there, it's uncertain times, so it's sensitive for everybody, and everybody's got a different experience of what's going on right now. But like Scott said earlier, it is a case of it's not forever, and just looking to when it's over and we can all see each other again.
Yeah, absolutely. Just just on that point. So this isn't going to be forever, we know that. But my only concern is that yes, the virus, we'll overcome that. I think it will dip in the next month, and it will dip and we'll come out the other end. But there is a lot of questioning around social distancing still being in play for a year after. And I have heard a lot of that. So whereas, we may have this situation where, yes, okay, we can all go back to work to a certain degree, but we still need that level of social distancing. That is, for me, that's still a little bit of a concern, that it won't go back to the way that we knew it.
I personally think that news plays on. I think it was John Oran that mentioned it, in that there's so many uncertainties, and reading the news can make you very, very sad at the minute because there's a lot of negatives. There's some stories saying it could be over in weeks, and some saying months, some saying almost 2 years. It's when we don't know what the story is, it's so easy to focus on those scare stories around it. I think it's very easy to latch on to the worst case scenario. I think if we focus on that side of things, then it will drive us all into a hole, won't it? We've got to, whilst there's uncertainties and it's not nice, we have got to just focus on best possible outcome, and not get bogged down with the thought of how long this could go on for, or that kind of thing. I don't know if anyone else agrees, and I'm personally trying to avoid Twitter a bit more, because I'm finding Twitter to be a cesspit of pain and people.
I think it's the news as well, isn't it? I think it's trying to avoid, when this first started, I must admit, at work I was flat out on Sky News. It was just literally on one of the screens, just constant, because you are worried about what's going on. I think now I've limited that to, I'll probably just look at it just probably once a day, and that's it. And I think if you're completely right, you bang on what you're saying, you can be consumed by it so much that you're scared to do anything.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest issue, isn't it? So for me personally, I've limited it to not even look, and I even know a few members of my team don't even look at the news. They don't even look at it.
Anne's got the right attitude with that one. I completely agree. Sorry, go on, John. Sorry, go on.
I kind of went a bit of the opposite from Scott. So at the start, I was very blasé about it. For me, it was, this is happening in, other countries. It's not really going to happen here, and trying to kind of continue as normal. And then I think it was the Monday he announced the lockdown. I think that's when it hit me more than anything. It was a case of, wow, the country's gone into lockdown, and I think that's probably when, from a personal point of view, I probably went, I found it quite tough. And now kind of while it's still happening, it's a case of just trying to remain positive and just rely on, trusted sources for information. Just watch the press, the kind of 5 o'clock stuff they do, and that's really it. And just trying to carry on as much as normal, and whatever normal is really. So.
It's an interesting time, isn't it? There's no two ways about that. But look, it's a good question to ask, Anja. I think we can, whilst we're talking about our businesses and all of that stuff here, we should be asking that question to as many people as we can, as often as we can, I think, at the moment. And I've certainly had some nice calls from some people I'd expect them from, and some unexpected people, just out of the blue, people dropping in and just asking, how are you? And the power of that at the minute, I think is tenfold to what it might have been 3 weeks ago. And I think that's a really important thing to be doing, and I'm sure everyone agrees on that side of things, that we should be taking that forward. So no, thank you for that question, Anja. As I've done on the last 2 sessions, I thought I'd close up with a little bit of a tiebreaker style question for a bit of fun. The winner is assured to receive a high five from me in person when this all blows over. And hopefully that will be at Franklin's Gardens with a beer firmly in the other hand. Today's question I've got for you, if you've got a pen and paper to hand, write it down so we know you're not cheating. Today's question is, in which year did BBC 2 become the first British channel to broadcast in colour?
Oh, God. We just worked out the answer. Where do we put the answer?
Well, I'm going to go round anyway, but I just like the visual of people holding up a piece of paper. But we'll go one by one, and we will ask.
I feel, Connor, I feel really left out here. Okay.
We'll go to you first, so we know you're not cheating on you once you've heard everyone else's answers. Cool. Couple more seconds. 3, 2, 1. So, Anja, in which year do you think BBC 2 became the first British channel to broadcast in colour?
I'm really rubbish with dates.
Okay, good.
I'm going to go with the year my mum was born, so 1969.
1969. Okay, cool. We'll go to Scott next. What have you gone for?
1956.
1956. Okay, Gary, what are you saying?
81.
81, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Anne, what
64.
have you gone for? 64. And John?
Well, my reckoning was that the 1966 World Cup was in black and white, so I've gone 71.
71. Okay. Your logic almost got you there, John. The winner was actually Anja. It was in 1967 that BBC.
Oh my goodness! I am usually so rubbish with dates. You should hear these family pub quizzes. They've been horrendous. I've been at least a decade out every time, so I'm buzzing for that.
The next time we're at Franklin's Gardens, you will receive that high five. Just want to say thank you all for joining us on this. We'll be doing another one next week. Next week, we're doing a topic with business leaders around how they've managed their teams through what has been an interesting few weeks, and how they're planning for the future. And we'll have a table of shiny new faces ready to talk us through that. I just wanted to give a quick shout out. Every week, I try and give a shout out to a good cause as part of this. Jamie Walsh from Willen Hospice actually connected with me off the back of these roundtables, which I was really happy to see. And I am planning on doing one that's focused on charities in the next couple of weeks. Jamie's asked me to mention that they're going to be doing a few virtual events in the next couple of weeks. Will and Hospice, of course, if you're aware of it, is a fantastic cause to be looking out for. So I'll make sure he's tagged in this. And if anyone's got any questions, do fire them towards Jamie's way. And then be honest, if you're watching, if you have any topics you'd like to see or you'd like to be a part of the Business Continues virtual roundtable, please do comment or drop me a message. Otherwise, thank you again to everyone that's joined me this week, and hope everyone has a great week in business. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.